Y'all have probably heard this famous saying, the best camera is the one you have on you. It sounds familiar, right? And this has come to be applied to our smartphones. They're on our bodies at all times, ready to snap a picture at a moment's notice. Now, just for fun, if I were to apply the same saying to earbuds, because hear me out, it kind of makes sense. Earbuds have gotten smaller over the years and their cases way more compact, and now they live in our pockets way more easier than before, just like along with our smartphones. Well, here's the thing, if I were to say the best earbud is the one that I have on me, I have a harder time understanding that, because here's the thing, if I were to choose between the real estate in my pocket of my spare change and my money and my ID and versus the bulkiness, even though they're small, the bulkiness of the earbud case, I'm probably going to take this out at the end of the day because they can be uncomfortable, and when I leave the house the next day, I'm probably going to forget them. So unlike our smartphones, that is a necessity. I'm gonna forget about the earbuds most likely. Now, what if a company came up with a solution where you can clip it to your pants or your body or your purse or your purse or your backpack and solve that all together? Enter the Soul S-Nano, or S-Nano as I like to call it, and their simple solution is adding a carabiner and a carry loop to the outside of the case. Simple as that. And I wish more manufacturers did this. And by the way, this is not a one-trick pony. It comes in great colors, it's priced very aggressively, it's tiny, and more importantly, it sounds amazing. So if you're curious what this is all about, the S-Nano or the S-Nano, let's find out after these messages. You know what to do, that way. Before we go on, I wanted to stop and thank you guys for getting me to 10,000 subs. Yes, over the weekend we hit 10,000 subscribers and I'm so excited. It's a huge milestone for any YouTuber. You know, 10,000 is huge. 1,000 was really hard, 5,000 was a little bit harder, and 10,000, man, that's huge. And I can't wait to see you guys at 50,000, 100,000, because it's because of you, your belief in Gear Up, that we're here. So I look forward to making more videos for you guys. Thank you in advance for doing all these things for me and passing the word around. I love y'all so much. So thank you again for getting me to 10,000 subs. So here it is, the Soul S-Nano. And this thing costs $70. And for what you pay for, you get to choose from one of the 6 trending colorways. Besides your usual black and white, there's also lime, frost, yellow, and this one, peach. And it looks more like pink from certain angles, but I'll let it slide here. In the background runs Bluetooth 5.0 with AAC and SBC support only. There's no aptX here, and I'm not sure what the chipset is. There is no active noise cancellation in case you're wondering, but there is pass-through mode. Battery life is rated at 6 hours from the factory, but during my time with it, I averaged more like 5.5 hours at 65% volume. Still pretty good for a earbud this size. Mono mode is also available, even though it's not advertised anywhere. That means you can use each of these earbuds individually. Water resistance is IPX5, and the weight is 5.5 grams per earbud. Nice and light. Do you hear that? Well, yeah, that's because the S-Nano case uses some of the thinnest, lightest plastics you can find. Thankfully, it's not brittle though, but this is really all about weight savings and a certain degree of practicality besides being portable, and I'll explain that in a second, and really not about looking expensive. This is about being thrown around. In fact, you can see in the light here, there's a lot of scratches here already on the lid, and this is from me just wearing it with the loop and a carabiner on my pants or my backpack, just being carried around and knocked around, and this is really what it's made for. But I do wish, speaking of which, I wish this didn't show as much and they used some kind of matte plastic here, like the bottom here, bottom half of the case, and that way you wouldn't show smudges or scratches that easily. But that's a small little niggle. But overall build quality, not bad at all for its price and for its size and for what its purpose is. There's a slight gap with the lid here, so when you squeeze it, you can see it disappear, and a slight creak as well. And the back here is the USB-C charging port. Right next to that is the battery status light. And here's the carry loop that you can snap on with your carabiner or other kind of devices that you want to use. It's nice and strong too. I don't see any kind of weak points that it will come off at any time. At the front here, there's a slight notch here for your fingers to grab hold of your fingernails to pop open the lid. But generally, there's so much friction on this really tall surface here, I can just rest my finger there and pop the lid open. And by the way, this has a locking lid. It's nice to see at this price point and category because when you apply any kind of torque, it doesn't just flop close. Some more expensive brands still can't get it right, and it's really nice to see on a brand like this. There's a magnet at the top here, by the way, to keep things nice and tight and closed. And the cavity here is nice and shallow, although it is shiny plastics. Now, if you get a darker color, I would imagine if it's hard, it'll be harder to keep it clean. But on lighter colors, it's fine. The charging pins are right here. And by the way, since we're still here, let's do the magnet shake test for the earbuds and see how well they handle it. Yeah, thumbs up for both the lid and the earbuds in this case. And speaking of the practicality of the light thin plastics I mentioned earlier, you see the charging light right here for the earbud. When I have it closed, you can't see this in this kind of lighting here, but in regular light, when I have the lid closed and the earbuds are in there or just replaced into the case, you can see the charging lights there, and it's really nice that you can spot when this is hanging. You can see if your earbuds are still charging or if they're done. In terms of build quality and material choices on the earbud, this thing is pretty much a twin of the case. Same concept, shiny plastics on the top half, matte plastics at the bottom half. Seams are not the super tightest, my fingernail kind of catches there. It's really all about lightness. The lightest plastics you can find without being too, cheapy or brittle or whatever it is. But the way they spread the weight out, once this thing is in your ear and locked into your earlobe, man, I'll tell you what, it's really, really comfortable. It's not the lightest, I'll make note of this. This is not the lightest earbud available, but the way they designed this is really impressive. Now, this has touch controls on this surface. They accept single, double, triple taps, not hold. And the left side handles different things from the right. The left side handles volume and voice assistant, and the right side handles media playback. And both of these earbuds, if you hold them for more than 2 seconds, it shuts the power down. If you hold it for about 2 seconds, it switches between pass-through mode as well as regular. The whole surface of this is very simple and very easy to figure out. There is a LED status light right there. One of the mics is at the bottom, and the other mic facing the head or the ear is back there. And the charging connectors are right there. And this kind of looks like a face, doesn't it? Like, hey guys, how you doing? And as you can see here, shining bright is a metal mesh protector. Really rare to see at this price range. I would think they had made it out of plastic for weight savings, but no, they added that as a nice touch. Everything is non-discrete. There's no wear detection sensor or venting ports anywhere. When you pop the really nice and soft, supple silicone earbuds off, you see the mesh protector there, and popping it back on is really, really easy as well. This doesn't have the same kind of hardened center cores as other more expensive brands, but as you can see, it's easy to pop on and off. Alrighty then, we're outside doing the Bluetooth range test. Yes, a little bit of a rebranding there, but it's no different than before. I have a high fidelity song playing on Deezer on my Pixel, and I'm gonna put it at the end of my deck right there. And if you don't know how this works, I'm gonna walk to the back of my house towards the side of my house, past line of sight, and we'll see how these guys handle it. So the S-Nanos have Bluetooth 5.0, a little bit older on the protocol side. So there's the phone at the end of my deck there, and where I'm standing for reference, it's around 25 feet. I'm gonna walk past the cars here, and I'm gonna expect it to start having disconnection right here. Disconnection issues around 32, 33 feet. So pretty much as expected. But I'm gonna keep walking to find out when these things completely disconnect. And I just got a disconnect until around, I don't know, around 35, 36 feet. So it's not too bad for what it's worth. And you can see how these things fit in my ears. I'm gonna try to stand away from the sun here. It's really hot today. The whole of US is going through a heat wave, which is sad. Yeah, protect the earth, guys. I'm back in range. It says I'm reconnected, but it doesn't continue media, so you just have to tap play, and yeah, it's playing again. You can see the fit of these in my ears. I'm gonna take it out. You can see it how it is. And once you take it out of the case, once you pop it in, you have to do a half turn upwards to make sure it locks in your concha. And when it does, it's really nice and comfortable. You can see it sits pretty flush against my earlobe. Let's move on to the microphone test, and we'll head down to the street. I'm kind of curious how these things perform. All right, we're heading down to the road right now to get some sound samples to see how these S-Nanos handle noise suppression, especially when it gets noisy. Here comes some trucks and such, heavy traffic. It's business hours. These don't have CVC on board. There's no Qualcomm chip. It does its own thing with its own processing and algorithm. And I can tell you what, they're overworked. The processor, they perform fine for what they are, for the price range and the caliber. There's 2 mics per side. And if you're wondering if I'm holding the camera not straight, that whole angle, it's actually the road. I'm standing on a hill, or we live on a hill, slight hill. And yeah, there's the whole alignment thing. But anyways, these things, yeah, they're not too hot. In windy environments, they're okay too. In quiet environments, it goes without saying, they perform really well. One thing I did notice too also is when you do get a phone call, this has pass-through mode, right? So it doesn't go through pass-through mode, thank goodness. These have good noise isolation to begin with, but they do let a little bit of sound in, so you're aware of your surroundings at all times, even during phone calls. But I'm glad it doesn't go to pass-through mode, and I'll explain why later on in the negatives. But overall, it's a decent effort. The amplification, by the way, is okay. The intonation, my voice, you can hear it withholds my bass and my treble and all that. It's still there, and it doesn't sound too robotic, so at least I'll give it that. But when noise comes in, even a second car or a third car, you start seeing or hearing kinks in the armor. So, you know, S-Nano, maybe you can do better next time.
Of Ninja.
So here are my top favorite things about the S-Nano, in no particular order. First one of all is ultra compactness. Not just compact, but ultra as well. And the last compact earbuds that I tested was like this one, the Mifo 09, as well as the Samsung Buds Live. And these things are very portable, very light, very compact. Then along came the S-Nanos and crashed the party. Look how small this thing is next to that. And this is like half the size of an engagement ring box, or it's like a pill case for crying out loud. And it's so small, in fact, that I've gotten this misplaced twice. Now that we have a baby in the house with a lot of pink items and you add this to the mix, yeah, it's that easy to lose. So yeah, it's that small. The other thing that I really like, and I don't usually say this, is the passive seal on these things. The passive sound isolation is really awesome. All I hear is my own voice right now. I have these on, and all I hear is the voice in my head, nothing else. But what's impressed me the most on these things is the sound quality. I was very surprised by this because when I first took this out of the box, I've never heard of the brand before, or kind of sorta, and then felt how cheaply they were made, how light. I was like, no way these things sound good. I put these on, played my test songs, and I was like, but I do want to note that this is definitely not an audiophile kind of tuning. It's not flat or anything like that. It's more of a skewed to the left V profile, so if you're a bass head, you're gonna enjoy these. These kind of thrive in the bass and sub-bass department because I'm not sure if the engineers intended this to be, but the thin structure of the plastics combined with the drivers, when they vibrate, you really feel the sub-bass all throughout your ear structure, all the way down your neck. It's amazing for something this cheap and something this light. I wasn't expecting this for the bass to hit that low and feel it, but I do. The other strength too is the low mids, but obviously its weakness is also in the high. Another weakness too is definition. Now let me explain this. So if I'm listening to Seven Nation Army, that guitar twang or the guitar verb that you hear, down, 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 I can hear the guitar, but I can't hear the twang. So the bass should be able to pick it up, but there's just not enough definition. Another thing too is drums. I can hear the drums, but I can't hear the drumstick whacking the surface. You know what I mean? Now, as we come to the negatives, I want to say something about the build. This thing, while it's really light, it's really comfortable in your ears, it uses the cheapest plastics you can find, the lightest plastic to achieve that goal. And some of you may find fault with that because, as we saw in the case, it's a scratch magnet. Also, again, we saw the earbuds that have mismatched colors, so I wish Seoul would have thought this through a little bit more. I don't mind sacrificing a gram or two with the overall weight, just to get slightly better plastics and feel as well. It's all about touch and feel and touch points and tactility and just the overall impression of quality. And these things, I just can't help but always wonder if I bought these at a night market or something. And the last negative, and this one's a big one for me, is the pass-through mode. It's one of the most artificial and weirdly enhanced modes I've ever heard on any earbud or headphone I've ever tested. It just sounds so harsh and like finger snaps and claps and just people talking. It's just weird. And as I mentioned earlier in the mic test, you probably heard me say about it, is I can hear car tires from half a mile away or so just slapping on the road for no apparent reason. Why do I have to hear that? I just don't know. So yeah, this needs a rework. So here we are at my final thoughts. And as I've entered into this concluding part of the show, I couldn't help but compare the S-Nanos with the Samsung Buds Live. I know, it's a weird comparison, but hear me out here. So, the Samsung Buds Live has active noise cancellation, but as many of you know, the reviewers have said so, my review kind of alluded to it, but because of the open air concept of the earbuds, it sounded like the ANC wasn't working. So in terms of that listening experience, that whole sound isolation, the S-Nanos are very similar. It reminds me of the Samsung Buds Live. So there's that. This has better water resistance. The battery life is about the same as well. This is lighter and also way more comfortable too, and it sounds amazing. It sounds as good, if not better, than the Samsung. The only place it loses to is the app support as well as customization that Samsung brings with it. But these things, man, I'll tell you, they sound so good and they're so comfortable. I wish this was longer, like 8 hours or something. I can wear this the whole work day and feels like I'm wearing air in my ears or something. It's that comfortable. So with that said, if you're looking for a earbud that's cheaper than a Samsung Buds Live, half the price in fact, something portable that looks amazing, has different colors, sounds really good as well, you definitely want to check it out. I have links down below. So I want to give this S-Nano, the S-Nano, a gear up score of 8.2. Here it is, 8.2 out of 10. And this is how I broke it down to get to the final score. If you have any questions of how I got there, feel free to comment down below. As always. Well, there you have it, guys. Thank you so much for watching this episode, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. And please join me next week for a couple new episodes. And by the way, if you're watching this and you haven't already, please mash and smack the subscribe button down below like it's been naughty, and turn on the bell notification icon as well, and tell your friends and family about it. And also, if you're financially able to, and if you'd like to see this channel grow and expand, visit my Patreon page down here where you can buy me a cup of coffee or tea, or leave me a tip or something. And also remember, thumbs up if you like this video, and comment nicely down below. And thumbs down. Thumbs down to this. Yes, I can't get the song out of my head. So thumbs down to this song because I can't get you out of my head. It kind of sounds like those 80s toys commercial, right? Space Cats by Mattel. Yes, anyways, that's all I got, guys. Remember to do something nice and loving and kind for somebody in this world. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you next week. Until next time, peace out.